Hey YouTube, we are back again this week for another video portion of the Daly Dose Sports Podcast. Hope everyone out there is doing well. Hope you are all having a great week. This week on the Daly Dose video, we are just reaching our Daly Dose top 5 for the week. So let's go ahead and jump into that right now. Now, as we do on so many weeks here at the Daly Dose, we need to get to our Daly Dose top 5. You know, we have spent a lot of today's show talking about head coaches that could be getting fired. We've even talked about one head coach that is now gone, resigned, or whatever that situation was. But you know, we see it every year. There are seasons where in the NFL, nearly a third of all the head coaches end up losing their job. Now, do all of them deserve it? Of course not. But like we said, expectations, injuries, a lack of talent, suddenly owners or fans are convinced they just need to start over. Just fire everyone and just start over. Kick over the Legos and throw a tantrum. But I want to ask you this, is that the best direction to go for these teams every time? Sometimes it probably is. But today, our Daly Dose Top 5 is going to look at 5 cases where teams are actually really lucky that they were a little more patient with their head coaches. Today, we count down 5 NFL coaches that could have been fired too soon. Fortunately, they weren't, and it actually really paid off. We start off at number 5, and I want you to picture this. You have a longtime defensive coordinator that finally gets a job as a head coach. And in 5 seasons as head coach, he goes just 36-44. He gets fired. I mean, that's not a small sample size. That's 5 years. But again, a coach can get in a bad situation or have bad talent or whatever. So another franchise gives him a chance. Maybe it was a fluke. Maybe he's actually a really good coach. So he joins your franchise and he goes 5-11. Okay, maybe this is just who this guy is. Maybe this guy just can't coach. How about that? But then he starts to get some more talent. And the New England Patriots stuck with Bill Belichick. And I mean, now look at how that turned out. Bill Belichick has now won 282 games. He has won 6 Super Bowls. Remember, his first head coaching job was actually in Cleveland, and he had the Browns at least competitive, but he couldn't quite get them over the hump. Well, maybe he's just a bad coach, or maybe Cleveland is a really tough place to win. Turns out, Bill Belichick goes to New England, and with the Patriots, he is now considered one of the greatest coaches ever. But no one was saying that when he was in Cleveland. When he was in Cleveland, everyone was going, oh, that guy's an idiot. He's not that good. Sometimes you have to have a little bit of patience. The Patriots were a little bit patient with Bill Belichick, and for that, he comes in today on our list at number 5. Next up at number 4, we reach a coach that actually got his start with what was an expansion team. So the team hires a brand new head coach. He had never been a head coach before. And of course, they struggled. Hey, it's hard to get any expansion team going strong at first, and the hired coach is sometimes dealing with a major lack of talent. So in his first 5 seasons on the job, this head coach goes 0-11-1, not strong, 4-9-1, not very good, 5-8-1, 4-10, and 5-8-1 again. Today, he's easily out of a job. But this was back in 1960. And the Dallas Cowboys stuck with their head coach, a guy by the name of Tom Landry. Then in 1965, Landry began to turn things around. The Cowboys went 7-7. Then in 1966, the Cowboys went 10-3-1. They were finally competing. In 1970, they would go to the Super Bowl. Tom Landry would go on to win 2 Super Bowls. He would go to the big game 5 different times. Tom Landry would go on to win 250 games in the NFL. Of course, he's a Hall of Famer. There's no way Tom Landry would have made it that far in today's NFL. He would have been fired a long time ago. But the Cowboys were patient with him. And he comes in today on our list at number 4. We move on to number 3. And we reach a coach that coached 2 seasons of college ball as head coach. Then he got the chance to coach an NFL team. So this NFL team that doesn't have a history of being great, they bring in this guy, and right off the bat, he goes 2-14. It's kind of a rough first year. Then in year 2, He goes just 6-10. Again, today in the NFL, he probably gets fired for that. Fortunately for this guy and for this franchise and for football and for so many coaches in his coaching tree, the San Francisco 49ers did not pull the plug too soon on head coach Bill Walsh. In year 3, Bill Walsh would take what had always been a hard luck franchise and turn them into Super Bowl champions. Bill Walsh's West Coast offense became the hottest thing in the league. Everybody was copying it. And I want you to think about some of the guys that learned at the knee of Bill Walsh. Guys like Mike Holmgren, Dennis Green, Mike Shanahan, John Gruden, Andy Reid, Tony Dungy, Jim Harbaugh, John Harbaugh, Sam Weiss, Mike McCarthy, Sean Payton. Bill Walsh literally changed the game. But if he was doing this today, he would probably get fired and they would be saying, oh, he should just go back to college. He's just an offensive coordinator type. He's just not a head coach kind of guy. But the San Francisco 49ers stuck with Bill Walsh, and he proved that he was worth it. Bill Walsh comes in today on our list at number 3. We have another college football coach at number 2, and this was a guy that had some serious success in college. I mean, he had won titles at a big-time football school. But would NFL players ever listen to him, ever respect him? Because here's the thing about this guy. He was kind of brash. He was kind of cocky. He was one of those coaches, it was his way or the highway. And that rubs a lot of pro guys the wrong way. Add into the equation that this head coach was replacing a legend that was beloved by fans. People hated him. No one wanted this guy to be their head coach. Get this college bum out of here. He can't hang with the big boys. And they were right early on. In his first season, this team goes just 1-15. Come on. He doesn't know what he's doing. Get this idiot out of here. Then he had the nerve, the unmitigated gall to trade away their best player. Well, we made a mistake. Time to pull the plug. Need to fire this guy. Need to fire him and move on. Start over. We hear it all the time. But the Dallas Cowboys decided to stick with Jimmy Johnson. And all the moves he made after trading away running back Herschel Walker ended up bringing so much talent to Dallas that they were able to win. And they were able to win a lot. Jimmy Johnson would go 44-36. He would return the Dallas Cowboys to Super Bowl success as he won back-to-back Super Bowls in 92 and 93. Then, in 94, Cowboys owner Jerry Jones got tired of, not getting enough glory or whatever. He fires Jimmy Johnson, replaces him with Barry Switzer, who basically did nothing, and still won another Super Bowl with all of Jimmy's players. Now, the Dallas Cowboys have done nothing whatsoever since Jimmy Johnson left. Jimmy went on to coach the Miami Dolphins 4 seasons. He actually got them back to playoff level as well. Jimmy Johnson could coach anywhere. High school, college, NFL, it didn't matter. Jimmy Johnson could coach. The Cowboys stuck with him, even when it looked like maybe this guy's crazy. And he returned them to winning titles. Good thing they didn't pull the plug too early on Jimmy Johnson. He comes in at number 2. So we reached the number 1 entry on our Daly Dose top 5 list of NFL coaches that easily could have been fired too soon, but their team waited a little bit, and it actually paid off. And our number 1 guy had been an assistant coach in the NFL for a few years. He had worked his way from defensive line coach to defensive coordinator, and he had been a part of some pretty good defenses. So now he gets his shot to be a head coach. He was only 37 years old. And he's going to be a head coach again with a franchise that hadn't had a ton of success at all. In fact, they were kind of a hard luck franchise. In his first 3 seasons, he goes 1-11, 5-9, and 6-8. Well, we gave it a shot. We gave a young guy the job and he did nothing with it. We better fire him. He's had 3 years. He didn't do a thing. It's time to move on, right? But then, after his 5th season, he had a draft that really changed the franchise. I want you to think about this draft class. It might be the greatest draft class ever, although we didn't know it at the time. In the first round, out of the University of Southern California, this team took wide receiver Lynn Swann. In the second round, out of Kent State, they took linebacker Jack Lambert. In the 4th round, out of Alabama A&M, they take wide receiver John Stallworth. And in the 5th round, out of Wisconsin, the Pittsburgh Steelers select center Mike Webster. Chuck Noll took over the Pittsburgh Steelers in 1969, and honestly, early on, he wasn't very good. He didn't have much talent. He had a lot to learn. But he kept learning, and he kept compiling talent, and he kept having these great draft classes, and eventually, the Pittsburgh Steelers would win 4 Super Bowls for Chuck Noll. And Chuck Noll compiled some of the greatest teams in NFL history. Hey, I understand how impatient fans and owners can be. We are a microwave mentality. We want things now. We want instant gratification. But the next time your favorite team is thinking of firing their current head coach, you might think back to this Daly Dose Top 5, because sometimes good things do come to those who wait. Okay, YouTube, be sure that you go out and you check out the rest of the podcast. This week on The Dose, we are taking a look at both college and pro football and looking at which coaches might be feeling some serious heat for their job. Plus, we do have some sports news to talk. Major League Baseball and NFL TV ratings are out, and they have some very interesting news there. Plus, boxing actually had a good night. Who knew that was even possible? So be sure that you go out and you check out the rest of the podcast. I will leave a link here for you on YouTube. Hope you all are doing well. I will see you all next Wednesday. Have a great week.